Hey, everybody. How are you doing? Book launch live. I don't think anybody can talk back to me. This is my first time doing a YouTube live, but the comments the chat is open. So I see a number of folks here. Great to see you folks. Zenta, Kevin, D. Perkins, Marco, uh, Akima, Beth. Hey, Beth, Nate, Terry. Thank you all for ordering the book. So thrilled. I can't even say. It's been a heck of a journey. So I will be honest with you. I haven't done one of these lives before. I don't have a formal agenda. Um, I might talk a little bit about the book and some of the things you might expect in it. I'll field some questions if people have them. You can post it in the chat. And if the chat is going by pretty fast, then forgive me for not seeing everything, but thank you for buying the books. Yeah, Shannon, Annika, HEA, Leslie, Donna. Yeah, you folks are awesome. Holy cow, we got 50 people in here already. That's wild. This is pretty cool. So, who's got some questions about the book, about the recovery process? Let's have some fun here. The book. Yes, Terry, I will be doing the daily YouTube videos. I have no plans to stop that, so let's get rid of that worry. Just because I came out with a book doesn't mean I'm going to stop helping on a daily basis. So, great question, though, and it's a question I get often. March 29th, I'll be 6 years in a row of daily videos. So, I don't want to break that running streak at this point. So, yeah, Peggy, thank you so much. Ordering multiple copies. So, inside the book, what are you going to find? Has anybody not seen it yet? I'm sure many people haven't yet. If you ordered a paperback, it's probably still shipping. I ordered some paperbacks also to get an extra few copies. They should be here Thursday. But the book is broken down into 3 different sections: an introduction. Then part 2 is really, before we can eliminate pain and symptoms, we need to understand them. So I really talk about chronic pain, symptoms, what the primary cause is, the responsibility of the brain. We do have a self-assessment, which is now in print format, so you don't have to do it on the site if you'd like. I have book bonuses, and I don't know if you folks have seen it yet, but in the back of the book, there's a section that says, hey, if you'd like some book resources, some worksheets, some PDF documents, and even a full-length interview with me, you can go to, and I'll type it in the chat here. Yeah, there's a book resources page on the website where you can enter your Amazon order number and get access to a full-length interview, about 10 or 11 different PDF documents. And so those are all the resources that we're making available for free. So if you folks see it there in the chat, I just posted the link. For anybody who bought the book, you'll need your Amazon order ID. Just go there, enter your name, email address. We want to validate purchasers and not just have these free resources go out to anybody. But don't forget about doing that, because we got a bunch of freebies for you. One of them is the Pain-Free You self-assessment in paper format. It's got little check boxes down the side, so you can kind of, per symptom, check off, does this apply to me? Does this apply to me? And, you'll see the check boxes here on the side, over here. And it makes it a little bit easier if you're the type who likes to work with paper and pen as opposed to online stuff on your phone or whatever. So don't forget about getting those free bonuses. So, who's got some questions? What would you like to know about the book? Let me just tell you this. The book has been a long time coming. I remember I interviewed Dr. Howard Schubner in 2009, and this was before I even got pain free, but I was still interested back then, 2009. So, what's that, 15 years ago, that I wanted to get out here and teach this stuff and write a book. And I even started a draft copy of an ebook in 2009. That's how long I've been putting this stuff together. Now, the good news is I did not write the book in 2009 because back then I didn't know nearly as much as I do now. And so this is the book that culminates 25 years of living with pain, studying it, and now teaching and coaching it for probably the past 7 or 8 years or so. So, yeah, let's see here. We've got so many people here. Holy crap, 83 people. I think this is the largest live online audience I've had. In the group coaching, I think we topped out at about 60 once. Yeah, people are saying I got the Kindle. Other people getting the paperback. For anybody who's somewhere in the world where you're not seeing the paperback available, Kindle Direct Publishing, which is for self-publishers like me, has certain limitations in certain parts of the world. So India, for example, self-publishers like myself in the paperback version, they won't print and ship to India. I don't know why. It's an Amazon deal. Not sure what's up, but most of the countries can get at minimum the Kindle version, which you can read on your phone, an iPad, an actual Kindle device. And the Audible version, I imagine, should be available anywhere. Um, by listing with Amazon, we get global distribution, and I don't have to figure it out myself. But that also means I don't have um, direct control over distribution. So, whatever Amazon is doing, whatever deals they've made around the world for distribution, it's kind of out of my hands. So, Terry, Bucks County signing. Sure, hit me up and we'll figure out a place to meet. Peddler's Village, New Hope, somewhere. Um, but I'm not actually doing a book signing event. You know, um, a lot of times the big publishers organize that and they run it up with some big bookstores. Um, but because this is a fairly narrow market, I don't know if I would have the audience pull to fill a bookstore with book signing people in any part of the country or the world. So unfortunately, I'm not planning on doing any formal book signings, but hey, if you're local, let's figure out a time to meet up and I'll be glad to sign it. So yes, Terry. Um, yeah, I love all the chat too. Getting my book Friday, Canada next week for the book. Just ordered it. You know, it's really cool. I've got so far, I've got people buying the book in the US, Canada, Romania, Japan, Germany, Ireland, Holland, Finland, Netherlands, uh, all over the place. So give a shout out as to where you're, why don't you type in the chat? UK as well. Yes, Christy. Um, oh, yeah. Lenica, sure. Come over to the Netherlands and I'll sign it for you. How about that? That's funny. Um, so, yeah, I love all the chat, but yeah, so Annette is asking, in your videos, you talk about do the things you would normally do to show your brain that there's nothing wrong. But what if you have symptoms other than pain, dystonia, which makes it impossible to do those things? Dystonia, it's a unique thing. I don't know if you folks have seen Cornado's success story. Annette, I don't know if you've seen that or not, but Cornado had dystonia. He's a guitar player and he had problems with movement with his arm. Um, for you, Annette, I would say do what you are capable of doing and try to continually expand what you're capable of doing, but obviously work within your limits. You know, if you have dystonia and you're not terribly mobile, going to the grocery store might not be available to you. But within the constraints of what you're doing at home, see if you can start to expand your capacity. But let me see if I can find that success story, Coronado, for dystonia. Excuse me. Yeah, I found it. I'll post that success story in the chat. So this is so if you folks see that, yeah. So what kind of questions do you folks have? The book took me a hell of a long time to write, way longer than it should have. If anybody's curious. Um, all right, somebody's already given me a 5-star rating. So on Audible, I haven't seen the ratings yet, but different question, Leslie. Can eye floaters be considered TMS? I know my neck is, but I just thought about my eye floaters. So we've definitely had people say that their eye floaters cleared up as a result of doing this work. My gut feel is that eye floaters are an increased sensitivity of the visual. In other words, we probably have eye floaters, all of us, all the time, but our eyes are at a normal baseline of operation. But when there is concern or fear around the eyes, the brain can actually amplify the signals from the eye in the brain and see much more than normally is seen. So, yeah, I would say eye floaters. I've definitely heard anecdotal stories of people getting better with floaters. So, yeah, expect it to change. Let's see. Accelerator use. Let's see. I don't have chronic pain, but your videos with regard to fear and anxiety, the one that relaxation video really helped me with my agoraphobia. I'm from India, by the way. Yeah, India, I don't think the paperback is going to be available there, but you should be able to find the Kindle version, which you can read on your phone or any other device. Um, yeah, Denise said my eye floaters for me, are caused by my anxiety. Um, yeah, there's not so much information in Spanish. So about the foreign languages, I've already had requests for Spanish, French, German. Um, Currently, it took everything I had to get it out in the English version. So my apology to the other languages. Um, Depending upon the demand, we will explore that down the road. But I would assume having a book like this translated into a foreign language, getting it available and republishing it under a foreign language, um, yeah, it's a pretty big effort. So I would say right now I'm focused on the English release, and foreign languages. I'll tackle that when we get to it. Um, all right. So Caitlin is asking about how to maintain a positive mindset every day when symptoms are constant. Well, again, it all goes back to foundation, right? What's causing the symptoms? Constant symptoms doesn't mean it's not TMS. It still could be TMS, but if the perceived danger is constant, the symptoms will be constant. So, foundationally, do you understand what's causing the symptoms? If there's doubt, that would certainly cause more fear, more perceived danger, and more consistent symptoms. But once you know that it's a mind body condition, then you can really start to focus on teaching the brain that I'm okay. So, how do you respond from a mindset perspective? I know it sounds overly simplistic, but as calmly as possible with as much clarity. I did a video not too long ago about being unbothered. And I'm going to post that in the chat as well. And it's basically my formula for the most simplistic formula I can come up with, which is clarity of knowing what's going on. It applies to me and that I'm capable of doing this. That's the clarity piece. That's the mindset, the knowledge. And then unbothered. Be as unbothered as possible. Now, if you're currently in a state where you've got a high degree of fear, a high degree of panic, yeah, so I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted over here by this. If you're in a high degree of panic, you're not going to jump to unbothered in a single step, but it's a practice. You want to work towards that. You want to move towards that. And over time, you will get better and better at being less and less bothered. So, yeah, read through the chat, folks. For the person who asked about the floaters, there's a number of people here saying that they've been resolved. Um, let's see. Constant symptoms are normal when the muscle tension is chronic, right? So let me point out muscle tension is a symptom itself. Muscle tension is not the problem that's causing pain or other symptoms. Muscle tension is also coming from a brain perceiving danger. So, constant symptoms to me means that the perception of danger is constant. And so that does not rule out a mind body condition. It just means that the perception of danger is pretty high. Johnny, thank you, sir. I remember meeting you in San Diego there many years ago. So good to see you, Johnny. Johnny Sanchez. Awesome. Um, would I suggest my book for me? You suffer mainly from health anxiety that led to agoraphobia and difficulty leaving the house alone and driving alone. The overall thing about this book is yes, it does say pain free you, but on the back, I talk about other symptoms. We're not fixing body parts here, not at all. We are teaching the brain that we're safe so the brain can turn off these false alarms. So, for this person with the health anxiety, yes, the book can absolutely help understanding the human system, how it works, how it functions, what turns on symptoms, what turns it off. Anxiety is just another symptom coming from a brain perceiving danger. So, health anxiety is no different. It's just that it's very narrowly focused on how am I doing in my body? How's my health? So, yes, I do believe the book can help somebody with health anxiety, whether you've got symptoms or not. But agoraphobia is all fear driven. So, teaching the brain safety will help with anxiety, health anxiety, and agoraphobia, because what we're trying to do is convince this brain that we're really not in this imminent danger that the brain currently perceives. Um, so Ali is asking, I had an accident. Whiplash started 2 months ago after an accident. Ali, please comment and tell me how long after the accident the symptoms began. If you had pain immediately upon impact, um, then trust the body to heal because that's what it does. But 2 months later, unless the injuries were severe, 2 months later, minor injuries should be resolved. So if you want to comment again, Ali, and let me know how long it took before symptoms showed up, I can further comment on this. Let's see. I'm trying to read through. Yeah, so Cruising with Elena says, I have health anxiety too. And since Dan has helped me so much, I believe his book will help me with my son and family members too. Wonderful. Let's see. Leslie, yes, one thing she has learned is that regardless of any crisis, mental, emotional, physical, remaining calm is absolutely the best. Because panic, I always say it, nobody ever got better by freaking out. So, all right, let's see. All right, look at that. Senta says the biggest symptom 3 years of chronic back pain, no more. I love that. Joanne, currently the book is only available on Amazon, but Amazon's a pretty wide global distribution. Should be able to ship in most countries around the world. But no, we do not have it on other places like Barnes and Noble or other booksellers just yet. I'll see. I'm working with some publishing coaches to see how we expand that. But right now, just on Amazon. We figured we'd get the biggest bang for the buck by going to the largest bookseller and the widest distribution globally. And the great news is when we get an order, I don't have to process it. Amazon does that. They actually print the books and ship them for us. For us to do it in any other distribution method would be a much different animal. Will this work with fatigue? Yes. If you go to pain-free you success, and I'll type that. So if you go to painfreeyousuccess.com, scroll through the list. I've got almost 100 success stories, there's quite a number with fatigue, CFS, ME, fibromyalgia, all sorts of neuralgias, trigeminal, pelvic, pudendal neuralgia. Um, how has my work changed due to COVID? Interesting question. Um, Number one, COVID is not TMS, it's an actual viral disease. Long COVID is very often a mind body condition created by the scare event of getting COVID. So, what we're seeing is many people are recovering from what they've been told is long COVID with a mind body approach. And some people are recovering fairly quickly once they make that realization that long COVID is TMS, it is perceived danger symptoms. Um, Yeah, we're not going to do a tour. It's on a laptop on a stand. I can't really move around. But thank you, though. Interesting idea. Um, yeah, so Boyfriend has said, my fatigue has been slowly going, and crashes have gone from months to days to hours. Perfect example of how fatigue is resolved through this work. Thank you for sharing that. Um, let's see. So Stina, feel free to reach out to me privately, Dan at painfreeyou.com. You're talking about translation into Swedish. Um, I'm open to it. I don't know what's involved in doing that. So feel free to reach out to me privately. Um, Muscle weakness, working out with weights, but symptoms increasing. Is my brain fighting my strengthening efforts? D. Perkins, it is very possible. Weakness is a common mind body symptom. So it is very possible if the brain is perceiving danger in this weight training, you're just not getting the strength that is possible. Christy was diagnosed with dry eyes years ago before anything. It eventually just went away, but I didn't realize until the other day that it was TMS. Proof that other symptoms will leave. Yeah, dry eyes and dry mouth are very common. Lots of people have them, and I see them as more of a result of being in fight or flight stress response very often. Um, so yeah, definitely dry eyes. My dad used to have dry mouth all the time, and he was a real high stress, ball of stress. Um, and that was long before I was really teaching and deep into this stuff. But yeah, we actually had one of our group members say that her eyes were dry, used to do drops. When they went to an eye doctor, after they got vastly recovered, the eye doctor commented how moist their eyes were, and the fluid in their eyes came back. Um, so, yeah, that's common. Let's see. How would you advise to deal with financial stress and getting back to work? Lost my previous job. It's very triggering to think about getting a new job. So that's for Digi, Digi. Um, Financial stress, family stress, work stress, relationship stress. These things are normal parts of life. One of the things I always say is that life can be lifey. Stress is not the problem. It's how our brain interprets that stress as danger and turns on symptoms. So I speak a lot about predicting a good outcome and not a bad outcome. So when we think about going back to work and that is triggering, it sounds like that must be turning up some symptoms. Um, but what's the story behind that? Is there a story that says I can't go back to work because I can't handle the work stress and therefore I'm going to get symptoms? And if we expect symptoms, guess what? The brain does. The brain can literally create the symptoms. And so for that person, I would absolutely change the story, start to expect that you're more capable. Focus on safety, focus on reminding yourself that there's no reason for you to have symptoms whatsoever. Let's see. And forgive me if I'm missing your questions because they're coming fast and furious. But here's somebody who has 20 plus symptoms after a neck injury while boxing and getting all scared. I was able to get it down to some light tinnitus and gym anxiety. Thank you, Dan, one of the 3 YouTubers who I helped. I don't know what that means. What about incontinence? confused if that's TMS. That's an interesting one because there could be reasons for that. Um, my typical answer is play with this stuff. There's zero downside to applying the contents in this book and the contents that I share daily on YouTube and Facebook. There is literally no downside to trying to teach your brain that you're okay. So incontinence, I don't know if that will resolve. It's tough to say. If somebody here has dealt with that and it's been a stress-related issue, please comment. Let's see. Trying to go through these questions. All right. Is it normal that muscles make clicking sounds when the tightness releases during somatic tracking? I wouldn't say it's normal, like everybody has that happen, but if it's happening, then it's happening, and I really wouldn't question it. I wouldn't panic over it, because if the muscles are super tight and they relax, who knows? Sometimes the body can make noise. And Annie Chin, yes, Annie, that was you I was thinking of when the doctor and even the dentist said you no longer have dry mouth. So Annie Chin here, one of our star group coaching clients from a while back, got rid of her dry eyes, her dry mouth, overcame all sorts of food intolerances, went from 3 foods to posting pictures all the time of a full, restaurant table full of foods, went from bed rests, and she's out dancing. She's doing all sorts of stuff. So Annie is proof of what's going on. Are there any success stories about sleep? Yeah, if you go search pain-free you sleep on YouTube, or pain-free you insomnia, I'm pretty sure you'll find some success stories there. Let's see. All right, lots of thanks. Lots. I got your books. What's my view on autoimmune disease? I feel like there is a bit of a split in the TMS community. Vanessa, great question. Some autoimmune. Well, autoimmune diseases are legitimate. They are your autoimmune system not operating correctly. And even Dr. Sarno said decades ago, yes, things like rheumatoid arthritis, they're not TMS. However, I have a success story with a gentleman named Phil who was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, had swollen joints, had all sorts of other symptoms going on, and he was able to use this approach, not just watching my videos, but he got into a meditation and visualization practice. His primary goal was settling the nervous system, and he reversed his rheumatoid arthritis diagnosis. His joints are no longer swelling. Now, I'm not suggesting if you've got disfiguration in the joints that this approach will heal those joints, but it can certainly stop progression of further deterioration. So autoimmune, when we're in the fight or flight response, 2 main systems are suppressed: digestion and immunity. And so what's really interesting is that when we get out of the fight or flight response more often, that suppression happens less, and oftentimes our immune system can return to balance, our digestion can return to balance. I've seen lots of anecdotal stories of people saying, you know what, when my back pain went away, my allergies also got better. And the opposite too, people said, I came down with a bout of X, Y, and Z symptoms, and for the first time in my life, I'm 45 years old, I'm getting allergies, which to me says it's an immune system balance thing, that oftentimes things like allergies can become more prevalent when our immune system is suppressed. We're less likely to deal with allergens. And so immune system issues, there's zero downside to remaining calm, getting out of fight or flight. One of the things that I've often said is when people say I've got digestion problems, well, again, digestion is suppressed when we're in fight or flight. So stressing out about a digestive problem that's likely stress-induced is like pouring gasoline on a fire. and wondering why it won't go out. So digestive, immune issues, absolutely. There's no downside and only benefit to applying the concepts not only in the book, but that I teach daily on YouTube and Facebook. So I've seen definitely turnarounds of some immune issues and also digestive, lots of that. Um, let's see, scrolling through. Somebody is saying, do I believe religion adds a support to relieving anxiety apart from therapy and self-healing types of methods? Look, I got better when I was agnostic and not terribly religious or spiritual. So it is not required. If you are a spiritual person and you get strength from God or your God, then by all means, that should help, because that spirituality might bring you a sense of safety. Um, but I also believe that whether you are or are not, the concepts that are taught will absolutely help in so many symptoms. It's ridiculous. Um, let's see. Yeah. So Leslie, I'm really sorry about the death of your sister. Really thrilled that my videos have been able to help. Um, and for the person who was asking about incontinence, somebody responded and says, yes, I have found incontinence to be a TMS symptom. So thank you for sharing that. Patty, book tour. I was commenting a little bit earlier. Um, it's a big world, and I don't know that I've got the audience to really um, gather enough people in these locations to warrant the time and effort and money to travel all over the place. But that's kind of why I'm doing this here, is to do like kind of a virtual um, book launch. So I appreciate the fact we got a lot of people in here. Can a migraine from TMS last 40 years? Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, and that's not to scare people with migraines, but we had a success story. I'm going to pull it up. And I'll share it here in the chat in a second. But so yeah, I just shared in the chat a success story from somebody with 43 years of migraines, and they got better with this type of an approach. So for the person who was asking about a 40-year migraine, look, if the perception of danger, the fear, the focus on it, the anxiety about the symptom, the belief that I've got something wrong with me is constant, the symptoms can be constant, they can be long lasting. Um, yeah, so Cruising with Elena said, I healed my headaches, um, but went from daily to once a month or once every 2 months. So yeah, headaches are almost always, migraines and headaches are almost always the brain perceiving danger. Um, let's see what else. All right. If anybody else has questions and you posted them already, why don't you post them again? Because it's probably gone by. The chat is going a little bit too fast for me to keep up. But thank you all for your book purchases. I really appreciate the love and support. For anybody who bought the book, I'll share it again. Yeah, so painfreeyou.com/book resources. I don't know if that's correct. It should be yeah, I think book resources. Don't know if it's plural. Yeah, it is plural. All right. So yeah, on that page, what you'll find is a form to fill out your name, email address, and your Amazon order ID. You get a 25-minute interview with me, which is almost like a video course. You get the self-assessment document. There's a foundational 4 and the safety strategies, which I talk about a lot in my group. but you'll get the paper copy or the print copy, the PDF. And the foundational 4 really lays the groundwork of what is necessary in order to get better. Um, and the safety strategies are the things that really we're trying to convey safety in. So emotional, physical, mental safety, spiritual safety, which is also like, how do we treat ourselves? How do we respond to symptoms? Returning to engaging in life and learning about, not learning about, but engaging in life, living more normally, and mindset. So all of that stuff is in the PDFs that you'll get when you download the book resources. I just did a video the other day, do less, do more, and that got a lot of really good feedback. So I created a PDF out of it. That'll be in the book resources as well. All right. So good question, Christy. What are some signs, Dan, that you're really starting to get there on this journey? I know symptoms are the last to go. One way to measure progress, Christy, is on all of the mindset stuff. Am I more confident about the diagnosis that this is a mind-body thing? Am I able to remain calm more consistently? Am I freaking out less? Am I moving towards being unbothered? Am I able to engage in life more without kind of predicting a bad day and avoiding my day because of symptoms? So, Christy, it's really, how do you know you're moving in the right direction? It's all mindset first. So, when really this is a job of overcoming fear. Um, so, Christy, I'll just ask you, how do you know if you're making progress? Is your fear becoming less? Are you less bothered by the symptoms? Are you predicting bad days less often and predicting good days more often? This is a complete mindset game, right? Because the mind is what's creating the symptoms based on a false perception of danger. So we have to convince the mind first before the mind decides to turn off symptoms. Um, Vanessa, yes, the book is available in the UK. We've got several people here who have commented. Just go to amazon.co.uk and then search Pain Free You with spaces. You should find it. It should be available in the UK. Paperback, Kindle, and Audible. That's one of the lead Amazon markets there. D. Perkins, should you continue strength training, hoping your mind will eventually view it as safe? I will say this. There is one of the resources is the 6 steps to resuming activity process. And that's one of the PDF documents that's available as a book resource. But I do have a video on that topic. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, so Aries, yes, Sarno mentioned TMS can result in reduced muscle strength, difficulty standing on one's toes, weakness, burning, stiffness, spasms. But these doctors tell me it's neurodegenerative. Well, doctors say a lot of things, and there's a lot of diagnoses which are misdiagnoses. As a matter of fact, one of the book resources that I have is a list of common symptoms and diagnoses that are very often caused by the brain perceiving danger. So I've got a whole list of a couple pages worth of medical terms and symptom, labels that are quite often just the brain perceiving danger. Let's see. Can an internal fever, feeling warm, be a TMS symptom? Yes, Richard. Temperature regulation is one of the autonomic nervous system functions that can sometimes get out of whack. And I've definitely had people tell me that their internal temperature regulation, always feeling cold, always feeling hot, those things have resolved with this approach. People with a tethered cord syndrome. I don't even know what that means. I'd have to look that up. Well, I don't know too much about that diagnosis of tethered cord syndrome. It may be one of those medical diagnoses that doctors point to say, here's why you have all these symptoms. But for anybody who says, I don't know if this is TMS, folks, there are assessments. When you buy the book, there is an assessment where you can evaluate your symptoms. So instead of looking at the medical diagnosis, what the doctor says, you see how your symptoms behave. So the Pain Free You assessment is available in PDF form for all book buyers. Go to that painfreeyou.com/book resources. And if you want, there's also a website, isthistms.com. So for the tethered cord person, go to this site. There are questions there that you can assess your symptoms. The symptoms are always more important than the diagnosis, meaning symptoms can behave like a mind-body condition, and the diagnosis could just be based on, an imaging observation that doesn't really prove anything. It just shows the status of the body. Dr. Sarno called those incidental findings or normal abnormalities. Yeah, Nick, I don't think I'm doing a drum solo today, but thank you for the idea. All right. Yeah, so Suzanne has a great question. May I ask your thoughts about visible physical swelling? Okay, so I was just talking about the success story. Phil, who cured himself of rheumatoid arthritis, he had physical swelling. He got it taken care of. One thing that's really interesting regarding visible swelling is there's a term called CRPS, complex regional pain syndrome. And that is a pain disorder which is comprised of pain, swelling, and discoloration. And I've got several CRPS success stories in the success story library on YouTube. That includes swelling. So if the brain perceives there is a problem in a location, a joint perhaps, the brain will activate healing resources as if there's a problem there. So it will work, it will swell the joint, and it can be resolved with this work. Um, let's see, I have full-blown CFS after COVID vaccine. Still trying to do the work. Thank you. Yeah, there's no downside to this. Let's see. All right, so Becca, you spent almost a year dealing with POTS and thinking it was getting worse. We've got lots of success stories for POTS. POTS is just an autonomic nervous system that I believe is driven by fear, not conscious fear, but subconsciously the brain says, uh-oh, we're upright, fast heart rate, maybe feeling faint. Um, go through the success stories, painfreeyousuccess.com, scroll through. There are a good number of people with the POTS diagnosis that have gotten better. So Becca, you're in the right place. And for folks who don't want to buy the book or join the group, keep watching the daily videos. dansyoutube.com. That's where the daily videos are posted. And every day there's a brand new one. It's either a success story or, me talking on camera. Yeah, so Leslie's asking, when I had back problems, did I ever have neck issues? My neck always had issues, but a year ago I thought I goofed up. It's been chronic 24/7, but I believe it's TMS. Back, neck, same thing, right? Do the assessments. If it says TMS, if it says it's a mind-body condition, that's what it is. The location of your symptoms does not matter. TMS can show up virtually everywhere. Donna, go through the success stories. We've got lots of bladder issues, IC, which can cause retention. It can cause frequency. It can cause urgency. Can cause pain. So yeah, Donna, I would, again, folks, best bet is painfreeyousuccess.com. Scroll through. The various conditions are listed in the title of the video. So yeah, you should see that in there. Frequency, urgency, bladder, IC, interstitial cystitis. Um, very common, very common. Um, okay, so Becca, I'm not, with heart arrhythmias, you want to absolutely be checked out by a cardiologist to rule out anything significant or I'll say serious. But if they've given you a thumbs up and a clean bill of health from a cardiac standpoint, then it's very likely that these arrhythmias, which some people call palpitations, could be a TMS issue. Again, no downside to it, but anytime we're dealing with an issue surrounding the heart, absolutely work with your cardiologist. And if they're telling you that your heart looks fine, they've done the EKGs, then trust that and move forward with this type of an approach. Yeah, so somebody was asking me if I use the exercise bike in the back. I do. I had 13 years of back pain and sciatica, and you can't really see it, but on that side of the bike is a low weight bench with a whole bunch of dumbbells underneath. I've got no physical limitations right now. I can pretty much do whatever I want within the scope of my body. When I say no physical limitations, I can't bench press 500 pounds, but I can exercise with weights. I can ride the bike. A year or two, I had a bicycle. I didn't enjoy it, so I got rid of it. But I can do virtually anything I want physically. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. Is my book going to be on Spotify? Audible version will eventually be. There is another, I forget what it's called. There is another audio platform that when we upload it to there, it will show up on Spotify as an audio book that you can buy. It's not there yet. I think that's coming in the next couple of weeks. So for anybody who wants the audio book on Spotify, give it a couple of weeks and keep checking in. But I think that will be coming. I forget the term that it's called on Spotify. I think I had it. Find a Way Voices is the organization that gets books available on Spotify. And my understanding is, excuse me, my folks are going to get the audiobook onto Find a Way Voices, which means it will show up on Spotify. So great question. Hi, what about periodic cramps, meaning muscle cramps, spasms? Those are definitely TMS. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, so Daria said, I had arrhythmia and every cardiologist told me it is stress. It was a symptom imperative for Daria. So great. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, so Cruising with Elena is saying she believes I should do a success story or a video on protruding bladder or pelvic floor issues. Well, we have lots of success stories for pelvic pains and issues. I don't know whether or not any of those have any prolapses, but I can't really go, do a success story. The success stories find me. So if anybody has success with a protruding bladder, then come do a success story for me. But it's not like I can create them. Um, so Margaretha, you're asking about what do we do when the numbness or an injury reoccurs? True injuries happen through impact to the body, right? And so if you're talking about symptoms coming back, it's a matter of apply the same concepts that got rid of them in the first place. So any thoughts on fibro? I think it's TMS. Fibro is 1000% TMS. Fibro cannot be found in a blood test. It cannot be seen on MRIs or x-rays. Fibro is a medical label given to people with a whole host of symptoms. And we have many success stories for fibromyalgia. So go to painfreeusesuccess.com, scroll through the list. You'll see fibromyalgia, fibro, many of them. So don't convince yourself that you've got this incurable disease that the mainstream medicine says you can't cure. You can. We've got tons of success. So there's no doubt in my mind, fibro is TMS. Thank you, Peggy, for echoing that. All right. Let's see. Still struggling with using modalities. Heat meds while still trying to feel safe. Will this inhibit my recovery since it is just TMS? So, Dr. Sarno said years ago, stop all physical treatments, right? I tend to agree with him with a slight twist. Um, if taking meds provides you a benefit, then be kind to yourself. Give yourself grace and permission to do that until you until you recover through this mind body approach. In other words, use the meds until you don't need them anymore. I'm not recommending hardcore, opioids or prescription stuff, but if you get some benefit from the pain meds you're already taking, then view it as a measure of self-kindness, not necessarily a problem. The heat, the ice packs, the massage, the pain creams, those can tend to get in the way. I know people used to do foam rolling for hours a day. Never did anything more than temporary relief. I used to stretch for 20 minutes. I'd get 20 minutes of relief and then symptoms would come back. Um, I don't stretch. I don't need to. Could I? Should I? Probably. I could probably stand to be a little bit more flexible, but stretching is not necessary to get better from TMS because the brain is creating TMS. Yeah, so Boyd said, I have prolapse, bladder problems are gone. Beautiful. So the prolapse is a physical condition in the body, but not necessarily causing the symptoms. Yeah, let's see here. New symptom is water in the knee TMS. It depends. Uh, again, if the brain perceives that you've got a knee problem, it can create swelling as if there's a knee problem. The brain controls everything. So I would say perhaps, but there are legitimate injury reasons for water in the knee. So if there was no injury and the knee just started to swell, that could be part of it. I don't know the overall health, whether or not there's a whole systematic inflammation issue or it is just the knee. So let's see. Yeah, so C.H. Mastenbrook is talking about menopausal symptoms. I did a video on menopause and hormonal changes. And as a guy talking about that, I admit how ironic that is. But I'm going to share it here just in case anybody wants to take a peek. Yeah, so I speak about menopause and hormonal changes. The example that I'll give is somebody in my group used to be terrified of their monthly cycle, and as a result, their anxiety spiked days before the monthly cycle hit because they were so nervous about the adrenaline, feeling of adrenaline rush and everything else. And this person had something really chaotic happen in their life that got them completely distracted from this oncoming monthly cycle. They forgot all about the upcoming monthly cycle, and all of a sudden it was like they got their period. They weren't worried about it, and there was no preceding anxiety for the days before. So to me, what that means is the hormones aren't the cause. In that case, it was the perceived danger that the hormones were going to be an issue, what was creating it before. So I believe the same thing applies for menopause. There are legitimate, real menopausal symptoms. Absolutely. But fear, perception of danger, worry, catastrophic thinking, focus on it, struggling with it mentally and emotionally is likely not going to help menopause symptoms be less intense. So, yeah, so Boyd is talking about female hormones can cause an uptick in sympathetic nervous system activation, which will make TMS symptoms worsen. So, yeah, calm is the way, folks. Calm is the way. We are not fixing body problems. We are not fixing hormones. We are not fixing body parts or symptoms. We are teaching the brain we're actually okay so the whole human system can function better. So, I hope that makes sense. Um, yep. Michelle Moore, I have temperature dysregulation. It's getting better. Yep. So much stuff will. It's unbelievable. Let's see. I'm looking for questions. All right. So Stacy, MIA, there. It's a good question. I know we need to feel emotions, but what I get confused about is we're also taught to breathe and be calm. Who says you can't feel emotions and be calm? I'm being a little bit smart alecky here. Um, if you're getting stressed, which do I do? Well, look, emotions and stress are two different things, but they're related. Emotions can cause stress. My take on emotions is threefold. We need to feel the emotions so they can pass. We don't want to judge ourselves by having the emotions in the first place. And lastly, we want to stay out of story mode. Because who here has ever ruminated on the story behind why they're so upset and found that they stay upset for hours, days, weeks, years, right? Ruminating on the story behind the emotion keeps it going. So feel the emotion without judging yourself harshly and stay out of story mode. What we're doing by feeling emotions is not to uncover some long lost trauma. What we're doing is teaching the brain that emotions are safe. It's like exposure therapy for emotions, if that makes sense. As for remaining calm, look, if you're walking around tight and tense and breathing shallow, drop your shoulders so that you can breathe. There's no right answer as to, which you should do. Ideally, we should be doing both. In the moment, I'll leave that up to you. If you're tense and tight, relax so that you can breathe and then allow your emotions. Yeah, so let's see. So, will your mind understand all the tips when you tell it to yourself in English because you're Dutch? That depends on your understanding of English. I don't know. Um, Perhaps you can, as you're reading or learning the tips, you can translate it to yourself as to what the tip means in Dutch or how you would say it in Dutch. Not really an expert at cross language coaching. Primarily, I speak English, and I've got lots of people where English is a second language, and people are still getting better. So I believe yes. Um, Yeah, so Caitlin is saying anxiety and symptoms are always worse near my cycle. I think there's some correlation there for sure, but is it truly the hormones that are making the symptoms worse? Or is it just that when there is a monthly cycle, the brain might interpret that monthly cycle as, oh, we're in that time of the month, there's some danger there, and anxiety and symptoms can elevate. So it's all related, and the solution is still the same. Do your best to calm, to reassure yourself, to stay away from freaking out. Don't assign meaning to the monthly cycle. Just recognize anytime symptoms are going up, the brain is perceiving more danger, whatever that danger may be hormonal, monthly cycle, movement, life stress, work stress, financial stress. Anytime symptoms are going up, the brain is perceiving more danger. If we want to turn that around, we want to convey safety enough so that it outweighs that. Um, so somebody's asking about Candida. Candida, I think, is the result of a dysregulated digestive system. So I think Candida is oftentimes treated with, antibiotics, which can screw up the gut even more. We've had a lot of digestive success stories. I'm sure some of them had a wide variety of diagnoses, but if you go to painfreeyousuccess.com and search for digestive, you may find some people speaking about Candida. So Rohit, you're from India and you're suffering from chronic dizziness. Very often dizziness is a TMS mind-body condition. The best bet is to do the assessments. You'll get this if you bought the book. Go to the painfreeyou.com/book resources, enter your Amazon order number, and you can download the assessment, or you can go to isthistms.com and evaluate your symptoms on the online assessment. But quite often, yes. And we had a success story for Megan recently, and she had chronic dizziness and she's better. So, yes, dizziness can very well be a TMS thing. All right. So Daria, yeah, you're in the right place. You'll get there. Hope you're a success story as well. Um, yeah. So Ian, thank you so much for sharing that. Ian says I had Candida. It's gone now, along with all my digestive problems. Again, it just supports the belief that when the digestive system is suppressed, the gut biome and everything can get out of balance. But Candida, in my opinion, is more of a result than it is the cause of the problem, because I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that um, did all sorts of antibiotics, prebiotics, probiotics, supplements, food changes, food elimination diets, and they still had digestive issues. And then they got better with this type of work. So um, we don't want to necessarily try to fix the symptom. We want to go to the root cause, and we go all the way upstream to a brain perceiving danger. We fix that with safety. Um, let's see. So M. Kincaid, mine is systemic. So I've been on the struggle bus with protocols. It's not been fun. What has been systemic? What are we talking about? A gut issue? And what are you being told? If you want to comment again, that's great. Ingrid. Flip the script. Lovely Ingrid from Scotland. Good to see you. Change the negativity. Um, you know, I love that. Change the negativity. What if I have this for the rest of my life? What if it all works out? Great point, Ingrid. Uh, love it, love it, love it. Ingrid was in my group coaching program. She made a remarkable recovery. As a matter of fact, she makes a little debut as a success story in the book. I spoke about her transition from horrible to wonderful. So, Ingrid, so proud of you. Thank you for showing up here. It's great to see you. All right. Let's see. All right. So, Jermaine, how long ago was the fall down the steps? Because oftentimes the body heals. So, neck issues heal often. Um, yeah. So, Jermaine, trust the body to heal. If you fell down the steps, if there was no, I'll say, catastrophic injury, broken bone, quite often those injuries will heal. And if it was a long time ago, it's very likely that symptoms persisting is not because of the fall down the steps. Um, yeah, the systemic is Candida overgrowth. But again, M. Kincaid, it is very possible that this approach is going to return your gut to balance where 85 different protocols haven't done it yet. That's because Candida may be the result of a dysregulated digestive system. Right. Yeah. I believe, and I've seen enough people get better with digestive issues, that the gut will return to balance. In some cases, I had somebody who could barely eat food at all, and they tried all sorts of diets, and none of the diets were working, but they were also taking like 20 supplements at the same time. And so they didn't have a natural state in their stomach. I mean, if you're trying to fix your gut problems with food, but you're still taking 18 supplements, now you've got a mix of um, artificial supplements mixed in with the food. And I don't think the brain and the body knows what to do with all that stuff sometimes. Um, I'm not saying food's the answer, but what I'm saying is I've heard countless stories of people saying that the supplements were not the answer. And so a lot of people are throwing away their supplements and focusing on this type of work. And again, lots of success stories in the, in the YouTube channel on the painfreeyousuccess.com, which is the playlist. Thank you, Jason D. Appreciate it. Ingrid, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And Ingrid, once you read the book, go to Amazon, because what you posted on your Facebook profile today would make an awesome Amazon review. But don't do it until you've read the book. So, all right, who else has questions? I don't really have a time limit here, but I'm probably not going to do this for several hours. But we got a lot of people here, so let's keep chatting. But Ingrid, thank you so much. Yeah, so Leslie having a hard time adding foods without problems. The 6 steps video that I shared earlier in the chat, I'll share it again here. That 6 steps video is useful for resuming eating foods. And we've got lots of people, lots of people who are overcoming food intolerances or symptoms with this approach. The key for food is to start out with something you love. Don't start out by eating something healthy that you hate, because your brain's going to go, we don't even like this. If you're going to eat something and possibly have symptoms, make it something that was worth it. So we actually had a success story with, I think it was Tom recently, and he said, you know what, I feel like I'm dying anyway. I'm not eating, I'm losing weight, everything else. He goes, screw it. And he went out to McDonald's, bought a bunch of stuff, soda, everything, and ate it. And he actually did fine. And that was the turning point for him starting to resume eating normal foods. So he was the one who, if you search YouTube, pain-free you histamine, you'll see his success story. I think his name was Tom. But good stuff. Thank you, Ingrid. I appreciate you. Could postnasal drip, constant phlegm, and feeling like my airway is blocked be PDP? It can be. We've definitely had people say that their sinuses have cleared up, their chronic sinusitis. And again, remember, the immune system is suppressed when we're in the fight or flight. And if we're in the fight or flight chronically, our immune system, which controls how activated our sinuses are to sensitivities. So yeah, I would say there's no downside to this approach. So no harm in treating it as TMS and convincing your brain that you're going to be just fine. When the immune system starts to regulate a little bit better, it will likely clean up. Kay says, I have low back sacrum pain that's near constant, most colorful when laying down, causing sleep issues. My assessments are on the line. Sometimes the assessments are on the line because the pain is so consistent, but that does not mean it is a body problem. So for UK, I would say do the best you can to decide that this is a mind-body condition, because if there's doubt, I don't know, it might be a body problem. Guess what? The brain's going to keep the warning signals going. So making a decision that, hey, it's on the line, I'm going to decide to go here, because oftentimes for somebody with that type of symptom, the medical world does not have a solution for it, or you've already tried it and it didn't work. So there's no downside to moving forward with a mind-body approach. None whatsoever. It can only help. So that's what I would suggest. Okay. So, Jermaine says people think I'm nuts when I try to explain what's going on, what TMS, what perceived danger is. So the very first video in my Fast Start playlist is a great primer. So if you don't know, if you don't have the words to explain it, ask people if they're willing to look at a video. And if so, have them watch. The other thing I will share with you. Yep. And this is a 4-minute primer. I released a snippet of an interview. So this is a great intro. All right, so the video I just posted was a brief interview that I had, and I kind of explained what's going on in pretty friendly terms. So for you, Jermaine, if you want to refer people to that video, it may give them an idea. So so let's see, how to not get caught up in the emotions around the symptoms. Trying to get back to feelings under the symptoms, but all I can think about is frustration with the symptoms. Acne, constipation, brain fog. Look, symptoms are absolutely distressing. It's okay to feel the emotions surrounding it, but try not to live in those emotions all day long. Because if you're always emotional about the symptoms, you're conveying to the brain that the symptoms are dangerous. I know it's tricky. I know it's hard. So feel the emotions about the symptoms, but then put them down and get on with living your life, doing more normal things. Try not to ruminate about the symptoms. If you notice yourself doing that, kind of pull yourself out and say, nope, we're not doing that again. But it is tough. Another comment. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm looking around. All right, so Shrina, you're talking about issues like autoimmune conditions like lupus, vasculitis, MS, recently diagnosed with those things. Um, I'm not a medical doctor there. I can't say I have seen people reverse lupus or MS with this approach, but I will say this. Sometimes the symptoms of MS or the symptoms of TMS, perceived danger, can mimic MS. The reason I say that is MS is a fairly significant diagnosis with brain scans and white spotting and things like that. I knew a gentleman about 10 years ago who had bipolar disorder and was diagnosed with MS. He walked with a cane. He was pretty wobbly. He was able to reverse his bipolar and MS with mindfulness meditation. Now, I met this guy. He's local. He lives, 20 minutes from me, and met him at a business networking meeting over 10 years ago. So is it possible? Yes. Is it rule of thumb for everybody? I don't know. I can't say that. Again, even with legitimate illness, there's no downside to teaching the brain we're safe, getting out of fight or flight, having a calm, trusting, Zen type of response. Because if this is an autoimmune condition, stressing out about it is certainly not going to be beneficial. And remaining calm and settling ourselves can only have a benefit. So I hope that makes sense, Shrina. There's only benefit here. I can't say for sure whether or not you'll get better completely, but it's certainly not going to hurt. And that's kind of my take. Let's see here. All right, so C.H. Mastonbrook is asking, how do we find balance between doing normal things and self-compassion? When do we do less and when do we push ourselves? So I don't like the word push ourselves because that seems like I'm going to torture myself so I can prove something to my brain. I think we take kind of a so what attitude. I want to or need to go to the grocery store. Is that pushing yourself or is it going to the grocery store? Well, what if I have symptoms? Okay, well, what if you're home and you have symptoms? May as well get the grocery shopping done, for example. And I know I'm minimizing that because I know for some people our limitations are pretty dramatic. But how do we balance between doing more and resting? Look, if we need to rest and symptoms are sky high, rest, make yourself comfortable, be nice to yourself, but don't stay there for days or weeks. You know, at a certain point in time, we got to get up and start resuming activity. So, the 6 steps to resuming activity, there's a document in the book resources, and I'll encourage you folks to look at that as ways to start doing more. And I like to think of it as not doing too much, but doing more. And sometimes the brain will kind of object a little bit. 2 ways we can expand capacity. Expect it to go well. Hey, what if it goes well? All right, I'm open to that possibility. And if symptoms show along, respond as calmly as possible. So, all right. So, Sierra is asking the question, do I have any other tips for teaching our brain we're safe? Well, I actually do. I'm going to post in here because there's feel like no matter how much I talk to my brain, I just go back to worst case scenario. Feel like I'm in fight or flight 24/7. First of all, talking to your brain is not the only thing we can do or should do to convey safety to the brain. There's all sorts of stuff. Some of it not so obvious. Um, and so going back to the worst case scenario, what you're going to find is in this in the resources that you get when you get the book, you got to come download them. But the do less, do more, catastrophic thinking, worst case scenario, predicting a bad outcome. These are things you want to do less of and do more of, expecting the best and responding as calmly as possible. So, Sarah, it's not a matter of just talking to myself. I have people say, Dan, I talk to myself all day. I tell myself I'm safe 1,000 times a day. It's not working. That's because if you are walking around the house saying, I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe, at a certain point in time, your brain's going to go, I don't believe you. That's ridiculous. Why are you ranting that all day in the house? And so I think it's really important to have multiple ways of conveying safety, the safety strategies, which you'll get a download of in the book resources. This is also in the book, by the way. So if you get the book, this is on one of the pages for safety strategies. But we want to convey safety physically with a relaxed body, comfortably breathing. Emotionally, by feeling our emotions without judging ourselves harshly and not ruminating on the story. Mental safety by not believing our own catastrophic worst case scenario thinking. How do we treat ourselves if we're beating ourselves up and blaming ourselves for everything and hating on ourselves? That's not safety. So let's do the opposite. Let's find some self-compassion, kindness. How do we respond to symptoms? That's a huge indicator to the brain as to whether or not you're okay. If you're in a panic, then by all means, that it's not conveying safety, it's conveying danger. So how we respond to symptoms is huge. Living your life, doing more, doing normal things, expecting the best, and if symptoms show up, do your best to be unbothered. All this stuff is mindset. And so Yeah, there's lots of ways of conveying safety. And I just shared the 24 messages of consistent messages of safety. Um, how do we stop scanning the body first thing in the morning? Awareness and decision. Oh, I'm scanning the body again. We're not going to do that. Let me get up and focus on something else. Um, what's your opinion on symptoms that are worse in bed or at rest? I can do most physical things. So again, two things you can control: expect the best and respond as well as you can. So expect to feel better in bed. Start telling yourself a new story, because right now I would imagine, Kay, that there is a certain amount of fear and trepidation of climbing into bed because you know that's where you're going to hurt. So we've got to start changing the expectations. Dr. Schubner taught years ago about predictive coding. What that means is if you expect something, if your brain expects something, the brain can literally create it out of thin air. So we want to expect a good outcome. What if I can get in bed and feel pretty comfortable? And if I don't, I'll be fine because I know what it is. I know it's causing it. And the response of being calm and reassuring is the way to teach the brain that we're okay. So hopefully that helps, Kay. All right, let's see. Yeah, so Shrina, with the vasculitis, you have measurable physical symptoms, but that's not proof that the body is failing. It's proof that the brain is perceiving danger and the physical symptoms are the result. I'm not saying with certainty or any guarantees, but there is absolutely no downside to trying to apply this concept and these approaches. Um, yeah, you're right, cruising with Elena. Um, a relaxed body, allowing ourselves to breathe, conveys safety directly to our brain, our subconscious brain. Because if we're not safe, we're going to be tight, tense, and breathing shallow. But if we're relaxed and breathing comfortably, the brain has no choice but to perceive that we're okay. Yeah. So, Gemma, um, the POTS, the anxiety, agoraphobia, all are caused by a brain that's, you know, in fear. I'll even say terrified. Um, and safety is the solution. So I know that this process can work for you. Okay. Ash boy, you're talking about a symptom. 3 years is not painful. It's just ruining my life. If you're willing to share what that is, great. If you're not, um, the same process works for all different types of symptoms. Know what's causing it. If it's the brain perceiving danger because you've done the assessments, then we know that conveying safety to the brain should reverse that symptom. So, um, allowing a symptom to ruin your life is understandable. But if it is caused by the brain perceiving danger and it is reversible, then the mindset and the fear and the emotional response to that symptom of it ruining your life is counterproductive, because if it's TMS, it's perceived danger, it's reversible. So focus there and not on how bad this symptom is and how it's ruining your life. Because if you stay in the belief that this is ruining my life, you're probably not seeing hope for it to change. So we got to find some hope to start changing things around here. All right. So this great one, Philip Lowe, TMJ with arthritis and displaced, classic case of TMS. Look, again, do the assessments. How is the symptoms behaving? Is it less under stress? Is it more when you're stressed out? Um, bite splints and physio not working, severe muscle tension in the face. So Tension is a perceived danger response. With me, I walked like a robot for over a decade. Why? Because my brain thought, Dan has a bad back. Don't bend it too much. Don't be too loose. You might hurt yourself. And I was tense so much. So, for somebody with a belief that they've got arthritis and a displaced jaw, what's the brain going to do to protect you? Tense it up to limit or prohibit movement. And I believe, not all cases, but I believe in many cases, a displaced misaligned jaw is caused by the muscle tension, which is caused by the brain perceiving we've got a jaw problem. And so there's no downside to teaching the brain to relax because we're not in trouble. And people have said their jaw alignment has realigned itself, if that makes sense. So I hope that makes sense for the TMJ question. All right, let's see. All right, so HEA is saying, I've been keeping a health journal. So if you're writing down symptoms and their intensity and when they're there and when they're not there and how they started and everything else, I don't generally recommend that, because when you track your symptoms that closely, you're staring at them. There they are. And what does the brain do with things that we focus on? What we think and focus on tends to grow and magnify. And neuroplasticity, it wires what we think and say most often. So if we're writing about and thinking about and reading our journal about our health, we're constantly focusing on it, which is going to keep those connections going. Now, I'm not huge on rewiring the brain, but I don't know if you folks have heard my story about how I forgot to speak Spanish. Took two years in high school, learned enough to pass the class. After high school, I no longer needed to know the language. I did not have to proactively remove Spanish from the language center of my brain. I just stopped using it, focused on life, and my brain says, oh, these connections are not necessary anymore because Dan is not giving any attention to the Spanish language. So if you want to have symptoms go away, we focus on them less. Health journaling is keeping things connected. It's focusing on it more. So I would definitely say, if that journal is not providing your medical doctor significant information which will determine treatment, there's no value in keeping that, because all you're doing is staying even more focused on symptoms. We want to teach the brain symptoms are insignificant. Well, if something were insignificant, I don't know that I would recommend journaling about them. So I hope that makes sense. All right, let's see. Visual snow, floaters. Yeah, we've had some conversation earlier today where those things were definitely resolved with this approach. All right. So Tom in North Carolina, I don't hear much about nerve, numb, burning, freezing type pain. Been checked out, nothing. Started with COVID. About went away. Then 2.5 years after COVID, it became way worse. Tom, absolutely TMS. Look up the success stories for neuralgias. I don't know if people are describing it as burning or cold or what have you, but numbness is a common TMS diagnosis. So where's your level of doubt that this is TMS? What do the assessments say? Because you said almost got rid of it, and then you got COVID. And COVID for many people is the scare event that activates their nervous system and amplifies a bunch of stuff. Doesn't mean COVID caused nerve problems. It just means that the nervous system got activated. But yeah, it is definitely Definitely TMS, definitely perceived danger. Yeah, so Joe's success story. So Tom, I don't know if you saw that one, but Joe's success story was talking about nerve pain. And there it is, Joe's success story with nerve pain. So take a look at that, Tom. Same with you, Nick. I know Nick has some nervy type of pain. Let's see. Balancing daily life with PPPD, which is the dizziness. So, Aline, you're saying living your life is your rehabilitation. That resonates. Did you see Megan's success story? Because she was the one who used that statement. And I'm going to post that success in the chat. CH Mastonbrook, can I do a success story on menopause? If somebody volunteers to do one, I will do one. But I can't create them, if that makes sense. So if anybody's got a success story where they got through menopause with fewer symptoms, by all means. All right, let's see. Lots of questions here. All right, so Kali, skin sensitivity to clothing, absolutely a mind-body condition. Absolutely. So it is a oversensitization of the nerves in the skin, but it is not based on a physical ailment or illness. Miriam is asking, do we see success with MCAS? Well, as a matter of fact, we do have success stories. And I've got got at least 2 different success stories for that. So if you go to YouTube and search pain-free U MCAS, you will find the discussions about that topic. All right, let's see. Yep, Stacy, success stories are very powerful. Let's see. Yeah, so Ali is saying that she helps a lot of people with menopause, believes a lot of it is TMS still. And again, as I was stating earlier, if you're terrified of menopause because your mom had a tough time with it, your aunt had a tough time of it, and your older sister had a tough time of it, going in with all that fear is going to magnify and amplify your brain's response to these normal hormonal changes. But yet there's other people with no fear, no worries about it, that go through similar hormonal changes without a problem. Yes, I know we're all different. I'm not suggesting that if you're having a bad go of it, that it's your fault. I'm just suggesting that the fear can amplify symptoms from legitimate and mind-body conditions. And don't get me wrong, mind-body conditions are legitimate. They're just caused by something else. All right. I'm going to put a call out here. So, Frida, does anyone with aura migraines have success? Did anybody overcome that? If so, please comment. We do have a number of migraine success stories, and Frida, I'm not sure whether or not they had the aura or not. but if you search pain-free you migraine, you will definitely see a number of migraine success stories, a number of them. Chronic headaches, migraines, vestibular migraines. I'm seeing at least 8 to 10. So, Frida, please search pain-free you migraine, and you will find a number of success stories. The aura does not make them necessarily any more significant or legitimate. It just means that that's how you are experiencing it. The aura is in and of itself not dangerous. That just is how yours start up. Let's see. Michelle, wonderful. 5 minutes breath regulation to calm the nervous system before and after eating has really helped my nausea and appetite problems. Beautiful. Oh, cruising with Elena. My apology for that. Yeah, it's really tough to schedule, so you don't have any opportunity for other days. Why don't you, if you would, reach out to me again, and we'll see if we can schedule something else. But if you reach out to me, tell me when in your time zone and what time zone you're in works for you, and if I'm able to do that, we'll make it happen. But thank you, cruising with Elena. Really appreciate it. Are there people with more sensitive nervous systems than others? I mean, people that have a smoke alarm that is activated easier without there being fire. Yes, absolutely. Everybody's nervous system is at different levels of sensitivity. And what we find is that the people with the most amount of symptoms have the highest volume, and the people with no symptoms have the lowest volume. What determines that? The brain's perception of what's going on. Are we safe? Are we in trouble? What's happening? Right? So a sensitive nervous system is not broken. It's not broken. It's not working. It's not broken. It's not working improperly. It's just amplified. And I view that the brain and the nervous system is working perfectly. It's just operating on fear and misinformation. Fear and misinformation. So we dial down the fear with accurate information that I'm not really broken. I just have the volume cranked up to 10. And the nervous system can become less sensitive, and all sorts of symptoms can settle down. So I hope that makes sense. Let's see. Yeah, so Mike, you can search the painfreeyousuccess.com list of playlists, and there are men with pelvic pain and urinary and bladder issues, all sorts of stuff. So, yeah, Mike Schiffman, you are not alone here. Men have these challenges: pelvic pains, bladder issues, frequency, hesitancy. So please go to painfreeyousuccess.com, scroll. You will see, I think one of the guys' names is Albert. And for anybody who's looking for success stories, just go to pain-free you and type in the label of the condition: pain-free you pelvic, pain-free you bladder, pain-free you insomnia. Those are search terms that you can put on YouTube, but include pain-free you so you get stuff on my channel. And yeah, burning mouth syndrome. Yes, we have success stories. Search YouTube, pain-free you burning, pain-free you BMS, and you will see success stories there. So burning mouth is a TMS, perceived danger symptom. Let's see here. I'm going to post about your book on my Facebook. Yeah, thank you, Leslie. Is hypertension, high blood pressure, TMS. It is definitely something that reacts to stress. I know some people even get the white lab coat syndrome, meaning when they go to the doctor and they get their blood pressure checked, it's elevated, but if they check it at home, it's lower. So, do I think somatic tracking is a good tool? It is a tool. Play with it. If you like it and it makes you feel better, wonderful. If you don't like it, don't do it. It's a tool just like meditation and breath work and somatic tracking and journaling. These are tools. What you'll find in my approach is much more, let's start at the top. What's going on? Once we understand what's going on, that the perception of danger is the issue, well, how can we convey safety physically, mentally, emotionally, how we treat ourselves, response to symptoms, how we live our lives? Are we engaged in life or are we fixing all the time? What's our overall mindset? Do we believe that we're okay? Right? It's that way more than spending 20 minutes a day on somatic tracking and missing all of the other safety strategies, right? Because some people say, well, I read a book and it didn't do anything for me. Right. You have to implement the concepts that convey enough safety so that your brain perceives that you're okay. So somatic tracking, some people like it, some people don't. Play with it, see what you think. I don't say it's a bad thing to do. Um, I got better without it. So what I can say with certainty is, at least in my example, I was able to get better without that tool. And so clearly it's not a required element of recovery. Yeah, so Trish, thank you, thank you, thank you. Burning tongue. Yes, I decide to be unbothered and it goes away every time, period. Go, Trish. That's awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. That's great. And I just grabbed a copy of that because I have a friend who's got burning tongue. And so, all right. Let's see. How's muscle tension perceived danger? Could I explain this again? I have severe pelvic muscle tension, and that's what's causing all my symptoms. Uh, my belief is that the muscle tension is a symptom caused by the brain perceiving danger. So, for example, if the brain perceives that you've got some problem in the pelvic area, tension is a response. And I'll give an example that has nothing to do with TMS or perceived danger uh, in this context. Scare a dog or scare a cat, what do? Right? Their fur fluffs up, their tail puffs out. Perceived danger will scare an animal and they tense up. If somebody looks like they're about to punch you, what do? You tense up. If it looks like a ball's going to hit you in the face, you tense up. If you look like you're about to have a car accident, what do? You tense up. So if the brain perceives we've got a pelvic issue with the pudendal nerve or a bladder issue or a urinary issue or something, a natural response is tension. The tension isn't the problem. The tension is the result of a brain perceiving danger. So I hope that makes sense. So Ash Boy, hopefully, did that work for you? Did that make sense? We want to teach the brain we're okay so the brain relaxes and lets go of the tension. So I hope that makes sense. Is it normal that it takes time for symptoms to go away? I see people say my symptoms went away in weeks. The speed at which it takes to eliminate symptoms depends on our ability to neutralize the fear. Perceived danger is a problem, safety is a solution. Some people, it takes a long time to do that. Some people, it takes weeks to do it. It depends upon a lot. And so don't view that you're doing something wrong if you don't get better in weeks. Don't view that you're not able to recover if it doesn't go away in weeks. Because all that secondary thinking, like, oh, I'm not going to get better. I didn't get better in weeks, so I'm not. You're creating more danger with that thinking process. It's called secondary fear. The catastrophic no hope for me perpetuates the brain's perception of danger. So we really want to convey safety, no matter how long it takes. And calendar watching, bad idea. Because if you think watching the calendar and watching the months tick by is creating safety, it's not. It just creates more pressure and more fear. Hey, I'm not better yet. Why not? More pressure, more fear, danger, danger, danger. Symptoms stay, right? I know this is all um, sounds simplistic, and it is simple in concept, but it's really hard to implement. So, all right, let's see here. All right, Ash Boy, thank you. Appreciate it. Can inflammation be TMS? Yes, inflammation. There was a scientific study done by a pain scientist in Australia named Lorimer Moseley, and he took people with, what is it? CRPS, complex regional pain syndrome, which involves swelling and discoloration. So you had a group of people with this condition, and he had them imagine moving their arm, right? And by imagining moving their arm, these people in the study group experienced both pain and swelling, which means the brain imagining movement created swelling. So, yes, inflammation can definitely be TMS, and it all relates also to the immune system. What do I think about visualizations? Daria, we are always visualizing. I don't call it that because some people get put off by the term. You got to do your visualizations. Do visualizations for an hour a day, as many of these brain training programs do. We're always visualizing. Think about 10 minutes from now. We're visualizing. Think about tomorrow. Think about a trip you're taking in a week. We're visualizing. We're imagining what that's going to be like. The problem is when we are in this chronic symptom state, oftentimes our thinking about the future, aka visualizing, is predicting the worst. It's seeing a bad outcome. So I don't necessarily call it, visualizing, but what do I say often? Expect it to go well. Expect the best. That's visualizing the best, isn't it? Oh, I'm going to go to the grocery store. I'm scared about it. Well, expect the best. It means I'm visualizing myself having it go well. So visualization, some people like it, some people don't. If you enjoy the process and you want to put it into a formal practice, go for it. I'm not dismissing it because Phil, the rheumatoid arthritis guy, did about 30 minutes of visualization a day. So I'm not saying it's not beneficial. It can be, but I don't like giving out homework when we can streamline the process. So I hope that makes sense. All right, let's see. Yeah, so Caitlin's asking, I guess it takes time for the subconscious to catch up with the not fearing symptoms, right? That's why they can hang on for a while. Try not to calendar watch, but it's so hard. So, yeah, the subconscious, the symptoms are the last to change. So, somebody asked earlier, how do we know we're making progress? It's a mindset game. Are you less freaked out now than you were? Are you moving more towards calm reassurance? And are you getting better at that? And can you dismiss your symptoms and be less bothered by them? Are you shifting your attention more from fixing to let me engage in life? What should I focus on? Virtually anything else except the symptoms. Why? Because we know what causes them. We know it's perceived danger. We know that's what's going on with us. We know there's a solution. And we know, and we've decided, I'm capable of doing this. When we've neutralized the fear enough, the symptoms will go away. So impatience doesn't necessarily convey safety. So I hope that makes sense. All right. All right. So Stacy's asking about Dr. Sarno's books. Is there any other TMS mind body related books? Womp, womp, womp. My book. All right. And I'm not being a wise ass. Well, sort of. Maybe I am. But look, Dr. Sarno wrote the Mind Body Prescription. That's his favorite. That's my favorite book of his. Alan Gordon has another book called The Way Out. Claire Baker just talked about that. What you'll find with Alan's book and my book is he doesn't talk a lot about emotions as the cause that we have to figure out. He goes pretty much directly into perceived danger and safety, similar to me. So he and I are on the same page. That's a good book that would support this work that I teach here. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, so kill pickle vodka. If someone asked you, Dan, how do I cure my TMS in plain, simple words? Clarity, what's causing it, and being unbothered by the symptoms. Because the clarity says, I know what this is. It's the brain perceiving danger, but it's operating on misinformation and fear. So it is a false alarm, and thereby it is temporary. So that clarity is key. You get the clarity, and then your job is to teach the brain that I'm not in trouble by being unbothered by the symptoms. So that's about as simple as I can make it in simple terms. How do I cure TMS? Know what's causing it. It's a false alarm, temporary, and teach the brain that it's not significant or serious by not giving a crap about it. I hope that makes sense. I don't know how to simplify it any more than that. Recovery equals clarity plus unbothered. That's it. All right. Let's see what else is here. Stacy, haha. Yeah, I'm kidding about this, but yeah, other books. I like The Way Out by Alan Gordon, but he's going to get into somatic tracking and all that kind of stuff. So if you want it, go for it. Is my book focused on pain only? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. All right. So for the person who is asking, is this just for pain? I'm going to read through here real quick. Abdominal pain, spasms, bloating, allergies, asthma, anxiety, arm and leg pain, autoimmune disease, some, back pain, spasms, brain fog, burning mouth, chemical sensitivities, chronic fatigue, ME, CFS, coccydynia, tailbone pain, complex regional pain syndrome, conversion disorder, also known as FND, dental pain, depression, derealization, depersonalization, digestive issues, dizziness, vertigo, fast heart rate, palpitations, fibromyalgia, hand pain, headaches, migraine, insomnia, internal vibrations and tremors, IBS, knee pain, long COVID, many symptoms, Lyme, chronic Lyme, many symptoms of chronic Lyme are a mind body condition, mold, hypersensitivity to mold, definitely a mind body condition, neuropathic pain, painful bladder syndromes, um, plantar fasciitis, post-concussive syndrome. You guys getting the point here? Should I continue with this? All right, Aditi, the success stories are on the YouTube channel. painfreeyousuccess.com. Aditi, go there, scroll through, you will see burning mouth syndrome or BMS. All right. All right, let's see. So Dylan, hopefully that helped. I didn't feel like reading the whole thing. I could have been there another 5 minutes, but there's a ton of symptoms, a ton of diagnoses that are resolved with a mind-body approach like this. LL63, the phobia about a few symptoms. Please go through the process. Understand what creates symptoms, do the assessments, and then if it indicates a mind-body condition, it's not helpless, it's not hopeless. You can get better. Let's see. Any advice for someone whose symptoms change daily? Yeah, it's proof, because the body wouldn't do that if it was a physical, structural, disease based process. So that's wonderful news. The solution is the same: know what's causing it, clarity, and be unbothered by the symptoms. And if you can't be unbothered, be as unbothered as possible. Same exact strategy. The fact that your symptoms change daily actually gives you more clarity, because that's a classic, mind body condition. All right. So, David Chi, Dr. Schubner said in his book that pain can go away in 28 days. It can, if you successfully neutralize the fear and convey safety credibly enough and enough volume to overshadow the perceived danger. So, I don't talk about how long does it take to get better. I don't tell people to expect it in this much time, because you're right. People can get disappointed and then they fear, well, I'm not better. What am I doing wrong? And all of a sudden they're just consumed by what am I doing wrong and how come I'm not better? And that's just perpetuating the fear. So, yeah. So, Michaela, prior injury damaging the cartilage, do the assessments. And if the symptoms behave like TMS, that's what they are. The cartilage is not involved. If it's not rating as TMS, then the cartilage may still be the causative factor. But if that's the case, the body heals. So if a long period of time has gone by, so lingering doubt can keep symptoms lingering. The assessments are the way to figure this out. Is this TMS.com? Let's say. Yeah, so kill pickle vodka. Would I recommend living a normal life while dealing with these symptoms? So some people avoid symptoms at all costs, and their world shrinks and shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. And the challenge with that is, after a while, you're in bed and you don't get up and you don't do anything. And all you've done by avoiding everything is convince the brain further and pour it into concrete that everything is dangerous. I have to avoid it all. The problem is, if you start to feel better laying in bed, how do you get back to life? At some point, you've got to start resuming activity. So I never stopped living life and working. I just did it with a lot of pain and discomfort. And I would drive to work, massive discomfort for the 35, 40-minute drive. I'd get to work, I'd go in, I'd take off my suit jacket, and I'd lay down on the floor with my knees up, shutting the door until my body decompressed a little bit. Then I would sit in my chair, and then 20 minutes later, I'd be on the floor again. I lived my life with pain. That didn't make my pain worse, but staying home would not have gotten rid of it either, because I hadn't gone through this process of conveying safety to the brain. So, yeah, within your limitations, live your life. Annika, whether you've got pain in half your mouth or the whole mouth, it's all TMS. It's all perceived danger creating the pain. Doesn't matter if it's on both or one side. Um, Phantom pain is not a term that I like to use a lot, because that gives the impression that it's make believe. It's your brain is creating these symptoms on half or both or your whole mouth. Doesn't matter. Um, let's see. All right, everybody, read Trish's comments. Great stuff, Trish. All right, so Bach Concerto. Um, Inability to breathe when walking outside because the anxiety is so strong. And generally, what happens when we're anxious? We tighten up. We're fearful. And look, I'm tight. Now watch me take a deep breath. There's no room because the muscles are so constricted around the rib cage. So, Bach, perhaps what you can do is focus on getting into a relaxed state. Expect the best. Don't be terrified of walking outside. The anxiety is just the brain perceiving danger and saying, what are you going outside for? Tense up, tighten up. You can't breathe. And so it's all a fear response. It's all a perceived danger response. Yeah, so Charles, hypertension, TMS. Yes, Sarno talked about that. We talked a little bit earlier in this session today that stress is a common elevator of blood pressure. Blood pressure is variable, folks. I mean, it goes up and down all the time. And if we're in the chronic state of fight or flight, stress response, um, you know, we could have an elevated blood pressure. There's no downside to this approach. Meds don't help. Um, you've tried a number of things. Caffeine doesn't help. Um, so try this. Calm, safety. Teach your brain you're actually okay. See if it settles down. All right, so Tom Scully saying only pain when sitting down. How do I distract myself from the pain? You're not going to be able to. You'll notice the pain. It's how you respond that matters. And for Tom, 6 steps. So for Tom, regarding sitting, use this 6 steps to resuming activity video and process in order to teach your brain that sitting is not hazardous. Gradual exposure, expect the best, visualize a good outcome. If symptoms show up, do your best to respond calmly. This takes practice. But I've had people go from not being able to sit for even a second to going to a 3-hour car ride as a passenger in a car with this process. So it works. Dig into it. All right. So let's see. Angie, disability for 13 years, managed to get better. Nobody would hire you. Depends upon the skill sets you've got while you're getting better. What can you do to improve your skill sets to be more hireable? If you fear that you're not going to get hired, then is there any part of that story that says, well, why bother getting better then? Because then I might lose my disability and I won't get a job. And now look at all the stories that can surround that scenario. So I would want to get better because we don't want to live our life with chronic symptoms forever. And if you've done the assessments and you know it's mind body, then you can get better. And once you're better, you can go about tackling the next problem, which is finding somebody to hire you. And if they ask why, you haven't worked for 13 years, I had a chronic condition, which I beat, by the way. Look at me. I'm good. I don't know. What do you think about changing your diet, carnivore, keto, etc.? They are not the cure for TMS, but carnivore and keto seem to be doing fairly well in general in the nutrition space for resolving certain types of symptoms. So certainly you can experiment with it. I'm not going to claim that carnivore would have helped with my back pain because my brain's perception was Dan's got a bad back. Right? I don't think it's a cure for TMS, but give it a shot. It can only help if you're eating a healthy diet. And whether you're doing carnivore, keto, or just whole foods, shop the perimeter of the grocery store. Produce, meats, fish, pork, dairy. Stop. Most of the inner aisles are just, processed food, not real foods. So, eating a reasonably healthy meal is fine. I don't want people who are food phobic to take what I just said as something you have to do. There's plenty of people getting better and then going back to eating pizza and drinking soda and wine and you name it. I don't think food is the cure for TMS. All right. All right. Sarah M., thank you so much. Yep. Bach, your muscles are tight. Yep. See if you can drop the shoulders. That may help with the breathing outside. You're welcome, Tom. All right. So, Spencer, have I seen situations where anxiety medications have made symptoms worse? It can happen if the brain perceives danger. Things can get elevated. So, yes, it has happened. Let's see. Blurry vision. Yep. Again, muscle tension. If we've got a muscle tension in the face that controls the eyes can get pulled out of alignment. So blurry vision can be, and I've heard plenty of people say things got better. Let's see. How do I stop my brain from lying to me? How on earth do we overcome our subconscious with our conscious brain? Kill pickle. The subconscious believes what we think and say most often. So there's a logical explanation for symptoms. And if we say, you know what, I understand this stuff and it makes sense that the brain is creating symptoms based on a false perception of danger, our fear brain is going to say, no, it's not. No, it's not. You have a real problem. Go back to Google. Go back to the doctors. Maybe you need surgery. Maybe you got a disease. We don't have to listen to that voice. We don't have to believe our own thinking. So the subconscious brain is doing its job by coming up with all these negative, fearful thoughts. The brain's job is to keep us safe and alive. It's our job to give it correct, accurate knowledge consistently enough so that it starts to learn that I'm okay. So it's not just what we say, but it's how we respond. And if we respond calmly to symptoms and we're unbothered by it and we reassure ourselves more and we're clear on what's going on, the subconscious will actually learn. The subconscious, yeah, it's fairly powerful, but we can change it, as evidenced by all the people getting better. So don't tell yourself a story that says it's unchangeable. Sure, it is. We can change all sorts of beliefs. They start with a decision that this is what's going on, and a decision that what's going on forms a belief, and then the brain seeks evidence that our beliefs are true. That's called the reticular activating system. If I believe that I can get better, and I start the day saying, why do I believe it could be a good day? Your brain's going to go to work looking for evidence that that belief is true. So, Jermaine, thank you. Appreciate you hanging out here with us. So, Bach Whitney, again, muscle tension might be doing it. Safety. How freaked out do you get when you feel out of breath? Are you responding to that symptom in a calm, reassuring way, knowing that it will settle down once we overcome the fear? The whole system matters. It's not just a matter of let me relax my body. It's, do I understand what's causing the tension and the shallow breath in the first place? Do I know that this applies to me? Am I on the right path? Do I know that this is a solution? Or am I caught up in the fear and the sensation of being, being lightheaded or out of breath? So constant self-talk followed through with action. Look, teaching, physical safety, mental safety, emotional safety, it's all in the book. I hate to say that because that sounds like I'm just trying to hawk books here. That's not the case. I teach this stuff daily in my YouTube videos. Kill Pickle, have you watched the Fast Start playlist? It's really hard to just summarize it right here in a one sentence. Know what's going on, be unbothered by the symptoms. Clarity plus unbothered equals I'll be okay, because when you're unbothered consistently, the brain will eventually say, it must not be serious because, look, he's not bothered. So yeah, Whitney, very freaked out because you're out of breath. But if that's happened countless times before and you've not passed out and you are you're still alive, then clearly it's not a serious issue. It is a sensation. It's possibly caused by the muscle tension. Um, all right, C.H. Massenbrook, do you think the majority of people with non-life threatening things can get better with this approach? I think anybody can get better. Will they is up to the implementation and teaching the brain safety. If you are running around freaking out, desperate to get better, hopeless that it'll never change, that is not the recipe for getting better. So, do I think the majority of people will get better? I think the majority of people who implement this stuff consistently will absolutely get better. It's not just possible to get better, it's probable that we get better. It's predictable, it's reliable. When we apply these things, people get better. Look, I'm just a guy shooting videos in my living room and outside sometimes. I got 100 success stories of this. It works. This stuff works. So the only thing you can do is not worry about the majority of people. Focus on you. Do I have the foundation down? Do I know what creates symptoms? Do I know what is it? It's what's going on with me. Do I know that there's a cure? Yes, there is. Do I know I'm capable of it? Yes, I'm deciding that I am, and I'm going to put it into play, and I'm going to get better. Just watch me. So, yes, people can get better when they implement. Whitney, I know you're struggling, but if I cannot breathe, which I need to do in order to get up the stairs to the subway so I can get from point A to point B, so what can you do in your home to practice resuming activity so that you can teach your brain that you're allowed to and it's safe to breathe? Um, Rushing right out to the subway stairs might not allow it to work. And what happens? Are you halfway up the stairs and you literally have to sit down? Or are you just gasping for breath? I mean, I don't know exactly to the extent of this breathlessness, but we can teach ourselves that we're okay and safe. But being freaked out is not a successful strategy. But jumping right to the subway stairs may not be available to you yet. So, resuming activity, 6 steps. I've posted it several times here, and it will be in the book resources that you can download. Use that 6 steps process to start teaching yourself that movement, activity, stairs are not dangerous. Walking outside, not dangerous. How do we do that? Expect the best, gradual exposure, practice, and if symptoms show up, respond as calmly as possible. Because if we do this gradual exposure, do a little bit, symptoms show up and we freak out, all we're doing is teaching the brain that movement is not a good thing. So, hope that makes sense. All right, let's see here. Probably going to cut this in another 20 minutes or so. We've been on here for over 2 hours. Seems like we could be here all day. 163 people. All right, so delicious. Widespread muscle aches were resolved with high dose magnesium. Wonderful. Um, Not everything is TMS, but I'm not suggesting that people with muscle pain go on high dose magnesium. That's something between you and your doctor. Um, all right, so Tom New Day. Do I recommend avoiding situations and people that cause anxiety, stress, and even fear? Look, there's some people that are just assholes that we don't want to spend time with. If they're a part of our lives and we can't avoid them, then we're going to engage with them. But if you think that the solution for TMS is avoidance of stress triggers, you're going to lead a very small life. Avoidance is not the solution to TMS. Exposure, expanding your capacity, not getting so stressed out by annoying people. These things are all beneficial towards teaching the brain that stress doesn't have to hurt me. Let's see. Yeah, avoidance made my symptoms worse. Yeah, we're teaching the brain that the things we're avoiding are the problem. Um, Yeah, so David Che, thank you. Took an antidepressant, caused him to have very bad heart palpitations. Stopped taking them and listened to my videos, and it calmed him down a lot. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so Leo, great question. I have the fear of MS or ALS, muscle twitching sensations. How can I calm myself? Foundation, what causes symptoms? Sometimes a disease does. So get that ruled out by the medical professionals and rule in TMS with the assessments. What causes it? The brain's perception of danger. So the fear and freak out that you've got MS may be the cause of the symptoms perpetuating. You may not have MS. You may just have similar symptoms. Self-diagnosis is a really bad idea. All that does is create fear and perceived danger, which can cause things to persist. Do the assessments. See how your symptoms behave. Are they worse when you're stressed? It's a good indicator. By the way, folks, if you like this format here, consider the group coaching. All right, because what we do is question and answer, and for 12 hours a week, I do Q&A with the people who are members of the group coaching program. So go to painfreeyougroup.com, and if you'd like to hang out with me, and I do 12 hours a week, literally, you can view it as 12 hours of open office hours to come in, chat with Dan, hang out, listen to other people's questions, get benefit. There's a chat in my group, but we also do face-to-face conversations. So people will be there. You raise your hand, you can ask your question, and we will have a conversation, get direct coaching. It's like one-on-one coaching, but there's an audience, if that makes sense. And the audience is not to be feared or worried about because they're all just like you. They're all dealing with their own symptoms. So consider the group coaching. Yeah, so all right. So for somebody who's not ready to get into the group yet for whatever reason, the daily videos, implement. The fast start playlist, implement. Leslie, do I think most neck pain is caused by TMS? I would say likely, but we don't work with most because what's happening with most people may be completely irrelevant to you. Do the assessments to determine what's going on with you, Leslie. What most people do doesn't matter. Let's evaluate how your symptoms are behaving. I do believe it's likely TMS, but the assessments will determine that. Yeah, CH Massenbrook. Feeling unbothered makes all my symptoms disappear. Just need to become unbothered again. Yeah. Let's say had a time where you were feeling pretty good and then symptoms came back or you got into a flare up. Solution: don't panic. Be less bothered by it. Know what it is. Call it out for what it is. Make a decision. I'm not going to panic, freak out. I'm going to reassure myself I'm going to be unbothered. So, Rose, thank you so much for your comment. Yeah, beautiful. CH Massenbrook, how many people attend a group coaching? Anywhere from 20 to 40 currently. But with the book, I don't know. The size of the groups may get a little bit larger. So, Leslie, the doctor telling you it's arthritis doesn't matter. 33 means that it's a TMS symptom. We all have arthritis. I feel better at 59 than I did in my early 30s. So we all have arthritis. A doctor telling you your neck hurts because of arthritis it's a normal abnormality. You can dismiss that diagnosis. What about mental health conditions? Things I'll say most likely are helped is PTSD, anxiety, depression, safety. What's anxiety built on? Fear. Safety will resolve it. So, Dylan, I don't know what mental health conditions you're speaking about, but I do believe that teaching your brain that I'm actually okay and I'm not broken and I'm not mental is a really good place to be. So I hope that makes sense. Let's see. All right. Ludmilla, do the assessments. I can't tell you whether or not your bladder prolapse is causing the symptoms or if it is the brain perceiving that as a problem. The assessments, there's the assessment in the book. You can download a printed version of it, or you can go to isthistms.com. All right, let's see. How to not give attention to your symptom when anxiety is your symptom. You're going to notice your symptom. We can never ignore a symptom. You will notice it, but it's how we respond to anxiety. So let's see. Yeah, so for Ciara, go to YouTube and search pain-free you anxiety. I've got a number of discussions about it. You'll also see a number of success stories for people getting better with it. You're going to notice your anxiety. Try not to be bothered by it. Trust it'll pass. It's driven by fear. Safety is a solution. So dig in and apply this stuff. Yeah, so D. Perkins, you can talk to your cell phone too. Hit a record button and have conversations with yourself on video and watch it back later. Yeah, the speech problems. Have you done the assessments? Does it get worse when you talk to people and you're fine? Can you walk around talking to yourself in an empty room? And it only happens when in the presence of other people? Well, that definitely a perceived danger response. Let's see. All right. Anybody else need anything? Where do you do the test, Leo? You go to isthisTMS.com. That's where you can do the assessment online. Or if you bought the book, the assessment will be in the book, one of the chapters. And we also have a downloadable version of the assessment, which you can get through the book resources. So I just posted the book resources link. If you've bought the book, go there, enter your name, email, and Amazon order ID, and you'll get all the downloads. There's also an exclusive interview with me. It's almost like a video course in and of itself, but that is there, and it's just for people who bought the book. So, yeah, so D. Perkins, it is PDP, but you're having a tough time bringing it down. Totally understand. The key is our response and our fear levels. Let's convey safety in enough credible volume to outweigh the brain's perception of danger. Yeah, it does take time. It takes practice, depending upon your fear levels, your history of chaos in your life. It can take some people longer than others, but the amount of time it takes is completely irrelevant. What somebody did in 3 months, you might take 6 months or 1 month. Doesn't matter. Your own journey is your own journey. And trust that by implementing these processes, you're going to get better. How would you work around symptoms with social anxiety? Exposure. Gentle exposure to more social situations. Expect it to go well. Two things we control: expectations and response. So expose yourself to more social situations. Expect it to go well. Tell yourself a great story that I'm going to have a good time. And even if symptoms show up, I'm going to respond really well. I'm still going to have a good time because I'll know what's going on and what's causing it. So I hope that makes sense, Bridget. Yeah, Kayla. Um, I know it sounds overly one size fits all, but when we convey safety to the brain, anxiety will resolve, symptoms can resolve, mental health can improve. When we don't believe our own fearful, catastrophic, negative thinking, our own thinking and mental health can improve. So, um, who else has questions here? Anything last before we wrap up? Going to wrap up in a couple of minutes. Yeah. So John Buell, peripheral neuropathy. TMS can cause all sorts of nerve issues: numbness, weakness, tingling, burning. Is it possible that TMS has caused a dysfunction in the nerves that is testable, that is showing up on an EMG test, that is still caused by the brain? I believe the answer to that is yes. Um, do your symptoms get worse or better with stress? Are they higher or lower depending on time of day? I mean, there's a whole bunch of assessment questions. What you're taking the pain test to come up with a 30. There's an FIT assessment on the website, and this has a bunch of other questions which are not necessarily as simple as the pain test, but do the assessment, do the full one. You will see it in the book. You will see it in the downloads under the book resources. And you can go see the FIT assessment at isthistms.com. And, 30 on a pain test is still TMS. And so the doctor's saying it's a measurable test and there's nerve damage. Okay, so how did the nerve get damaged? What injury caused it? And why hasn't it healed? Because even nerves heal. So these are good questions to ask your neurologist and say, well, what caused the nerve damage? He's going to go, don't know. And if you ask if it heals, he'll say, no, it's permanent. Okay. Based on what proof? All right. So I would say, let me just check here. Yeah, so I've got a success story. I'll share a couple of them. All right, so those two links that I just posted are neuropathy success stories. All right, peripheral neuropathy somewhere else. It's all pretty much the same thing. Nerves that the brain controls. Um, awesome. Thank you, Suzanne Collins. Really thrilled that you're 50 years of, listen to this, folks, 50 years of pain. They have been helped immeasurably. People ask me why I'm doing so well, and I refer them to your videos. Now I will give them your book. So awesome. 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 Great stuff. All right. Somebody just asked, do I have success stories with breathing issues? I didn't see one when I searched the success stories. So I can't say with certainty. But I did just post a video that I did a while ago called Breathe. It's a breathing meditation. And periodically I'll do breathe in the calm, exhale the chaos. Well, that video that I just posted, the breathing meditation, has about 8 minutes of that. So enjoy it. Let's see. All right. So Augusto, that lump in the throat is curable. So I would search the success stories, go to pain free use success, and search for GERD. And difficulty swallowing food is a sensation, but if they've checked out and scoped you and there's nothing structurally wrong with your throat, then it's a sensation created by a brain perceiving danger. And the freak out every time you eat is ends up being counterproductive. All right, let's see. So, Caitlin, I don't have a breathing success story. Somebody shortness of breath. Let me see. I searched breathing. Let me search breath. Nope, not seeing one. Doesn't mean it's not going to benefit you, because what's the shortness of breath caused by? Fear, tight chest, anxiety, right? So, yeah, so the breathing meditation I just shared in the chat. If you scroll up, you should see it. I've had misalignment and weakness in my muscles. Can that be due to TMS? Yes, absolutely. I don't know if you folks saw my video, or not video, my pictures. I was all jacked up and crooked, and I am better now. So, Ayub, yes, misalignment and weakness, definitely a TMS. Took the second test, scored 36, and the fit, I had 15 of them. This is great info that what you're dealing with. Yeah, Laura, 15 of the 19 questions, it's 1,000% mind body. You are absolutely in the right place, which means it is all reversible. All right. So D. Perkins, the members, some of them are on screen, some of them just have like a black screen with their name. And so some people are shy and they don't want to be on screen, but many of the members in the private coaching groups are there on screen. And when they have questions, we will unmute them and then they can have a conversation with me. But there are some people who never come on camera, and there are even people who change their name in Zoom, so we don't even know who it is. But you can still get out, get coached, get helped, even if you're shy. All right, so Tom Scully, no, I don't believe that is the case. I had tight torso muscles for a decade. They relaxed when my brain felt safe. So I feel that you can do that too. All right, we're going to wrap this up, folks. Can't believe we still got 146 people here. This has been awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Wow. Any last emergencies? Anybody? Couple of reminders. painfreeyougroup.com. If you'd like to do more of this in a group setting on a regular basis, this is kind of in celebration of the book launch. If you haven't gotten it yet, in the US, you can go to painfreeyoubook.com, and that'll take you to the US Amazon site. If you're in a different part of the world, go to your normal Amazon location, .ca for Canada, .co.uk, .de for Germany, wherever your local Amazon is. But you should be able to find the book there. If it is not available in paperback format, again, that is an Amazon distribution thing. I know for sure India does not allow me to sell the paperback there. So you'll have to suffice with the Kindle version or the audiobook. Or if you know somebody in an area that's served by Amazon, have them buy it and mail it to you. But right now, too much on our plate to take manual orders and ship out, internationally. And that would be very time consuming and very costly. So Ayub, yes, symptoms and thoughts can increase. What should be done? Go through the Fast Start playlist, and I'll post that again. Yeah, so D nasty, I don't know about your situation. Contracted knees, inflection with severe weakness. Um, I don't know medically what's causing that. Um, how much fear is there surrounding the symptoms? Um, can these joints and legs move with some physical therapy, occupational therapy? That's a really tough question to ask, but I will say do the assessments. This might be a unique situation. Um, yeah, so it's tough to say how much of what you're dealing with, D nasty, is created by the brain perceiving danger or a physical limitation created by something. Um, do you have a diagnosis or do you just have these symptoms? If it's just symptoms and they're not telling you, um, then it very well could be a mind body condition. Whitney, what TMS work? Everything we talk about on a daily basis in the videos, knowing what causes a symptom, deciding it applies to us, knowing there's a solution, deciding you're capable of it, and then implementation, teaching the brain that emotions are safe, the thoughts don't have to be believed. We can dial down the fear with accurate information of what's really going on, how we respond to symptoms. Instead of freaking out when we can't breathe, respond more calmly. Those things are all beneficial. Shift attention towards doing more normal things within the realm of your capacity. Bonnie, yes, the book is available in Canada. Just go to amazon.ca. You'll find it. It's a group meeting later today if I join the program. Yes, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's in about 2.5 hours from now. So, yes, anybody who wants to join, you can get in there. Yeah, when I say work, there's no tasks. I don't give homework. It's not as if I'm going to come up with a 15-point checklist that you do every day. Right. So, um, nope, the TMS process, the TMS approach. Safety, safety, safety in multiple different ways. The safety strategies in the book will absolutely map out what we do, how we do it. The rest of the book explains all of the how to. So if you haven't gotten it yet, you might want to consider that. So I think I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to have to grab some lunch. I understand, Whitney. Um, there's a lot of people in the mind body community that talk about doing the work. I often don't like that work. And I know I may have just said it, which is what's causing this confusion right now. Implement the process, implement safety. That's the work. And yeah, there are tasks, there are things to do, but it's not like a checklist. And I just kind of rambled through them. So you're in the right place. I know you can get better. Um, and Martha, getting better. Thank you, Dan. All right, folks. All right, a couple reminders. painfreeyoubook.com to get it in the US Amazon site. If you want it on another location in the world, go to your local serving Amazon website. You should be able to find it. Search Pain Free You on Amazon. In your location, you will find whatever version is available to you. Kindle, ebook, Audible, audiobook, or paperback. Paperback's the one thing that might not be available everywhere. dansfaststart.com. That's a series of videos which will explain a lot of this. Painfreeyousuccess.com is a whole series of success stories. No. Yeah, success stories. Sorry, distracted between the chat and what I'm talking about here. So listen, everybody, I really appreciate you for helping me launch my book. Consider the group coaching. Consider the book if you haven't gotten it. If not, just keep on following me on YouTube and Facebook. I post daily videos every day, and I've got no current plans to stop that. So lots of people are getting better just by the free daily videos. So hold on. Let me go to the page. So the person asking the question about the schedule not being updated, was that for the Christmas holiday season that you're asking about? The normal season or the normal schedule is the one that says normal schedule and is crossed out. But I will update that very briefly in the next 10 minutes. But if you are in the group already and you're looking at the coaching schedule, the ones that are crossed out are the normal schedule. That's what we're in this week. Skip the Christmas week and New Year's week. If you're on the main website, painfreeyou.com, and you go to group coaching and scroll down, what you're seeing there, call times, that is the normal schedule. So I don't know where you're looking at the schedule, saying it hasn't been updated, but the one inside of the membership, I'll update that shortly. The regular schedule is what's shown as normal and crossed out. So Patty, look at the group membership under group coaching. You're logged in there. Ignore the red stuff and the lines that are crossed off. That's what it is. So today, 3 p.m., if you're on the East Coast here, tomorrow, 1 and 7 p.m. And I'll have that updated within about 10 minutes or so. So everybody, thank you so much for coming here and joining me live for this book launch. I was glad to be able to answer a bunch of questions here. It's a little overwhelming because the questions were coming fast and furious, but really appreciate you all, love you all, and maybe we'll see you in the group coaching, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, but if not, we'll see you tomorrow in the daily videos. So, all right, everybody, take care. Love you so much.